We are still preparation day at Spiel, and I wanted to come to this booth, one of the first ones, because NSKN, they are my friends. And because they are my friends, I just wanted to see them and talk about their games. Now, you could say that I am biased when I say that their games are very good, but the fact is that they make some very, very good games. So I don't need to be biased about it, and I can be truthful and honest when I say that they're actually very good games. And just in case you need any proof, I have here Bludger, who is going to talk to me about Dragon's Gate College, the game that NSKN is releasing at Spiel 2017, that I am not biased when I say looks very nice, very big, very interesting, but I have no idea what this is all about. So Bludger, hello, how are you?
I am really well, and I will be happy to tell you everything you want to know about Dragon's Gate College.
Go for it.
Okay, so the idea of the game is that we have this incredible university for very talented students of adventuring. And what you are in the game is you are a head of a student house. You know, there is a little bit of the, Gryffindor and Slytherin vibe, only we don't have just wizards. We have wizards, we have warriors, and we have rogues. So as the head of the student's house, what you want to do is you want to recruit students, and then you want to guide their careers in such a way that it's most beneficial to you. And at the end of at the end of 5 rounds, at the end of the semester, you have the most prestige. Now, how do you do that mechanically? Well, in essence, Dragon's Gate College is a dice drafting game. Every turn starts with a number of dice being rolled and placed on the board. Actually, I placed them in the wrong position, so they are placed here. There are a number of neutral dice, and every player gets at least 1 die of their color. And what happens on every turn, you pick up one of the dice, and you perform an action that is tied to the number currently shown on the dice you pick up. Now, if you pick up a die belonging to another player, that player will also be able to perform an action. And if somebody picks up a die that belongs to you, you will be able to perform an action as well. So what can you do? Well, let's start from the very basic things. You can use a die to get some money. You can use a die to buy a little bit of prestige, because, that always works. Greasing up a little bit. You can use the dice to move further on what is called the training dungeon, which is a place where it's basically a track where you can get a lot of cool things. And at the end of the game, if you were one of first there, you will be able to score a lot of points. You can hire new professors, you can recruit new students, you can build buildings, and we will come back to that in a second. And finally, you can also decide that one of your apprentices can follow one career of level 1, 2, or 3. And if you are able to meet all of the requirements, you will be able to take that career token and take all of the benefits of taking that career token. Again, we will come back to that in a second, because what I want to show you very quickly now is a player mat. So basically, every player starts with a mat looking more or less like this. These are your house grounds. Every house has 3 skills, which are tied to the 3 classes. So one of them is magic, one of them is stealth, and one of them is brawn. As you start the game, you pick 2 of the 3 starting professors, and these professors will move your house abilities up. And this is important because every student you have, the starting ones and then the ones you recruit later, has their own abilities, which when you add what you have on your board to those abilities, because it represents all that you are giving those students, the way you are schooling them. And when this is enough to meet the requirements of a given career token, you are able to take it. But your player mat has also a few more tricks. As I said, you can build buildings. So when you build a building, you take a building tile, you place it on your player board. It gives you some special abilities, sometimes something that works instantly, sometimes a special ability you'll be able to use throughout the whole game, and whatever you cover up, that's also an extra bonus. So in this case, the brawn would go up. Similarly, when you take a new professor, they also come with some special abilities. And you can also later buy buildings that will allow you to have more professors. So this way, I could actually add another professor here, which would immediately make me move up on the tracks. Like I said, this is kind of your base you're building for you to make it easier to make your students become rogues, wizards, and warriors. Each of those professions also comes with their own perks. So when your student, let's say your student becomes a wizard, like so, not only the student token is removed, that student has gone on a quest, he has become a wizard, you are left with basically a souvenir which you will be able to place in your trophy hall. When you place it in a trophy hall, you can find, you can decide to place it in one of the locations that will again give you a bonus, plus every token, every career token also gives you a bonus. So let's say I would put this here, that would allow me to get one imp. Imps are helpful little spirits that allow you to change the values of the dice. But a wizard would also give you a wizardry card. So you would draw a card from the wizardry deck. I'm going to take this card here. And these cards, when you play them, they offer something you gain, but they almost always offer something everyone else gains. Because it's like researching new spells. Everyone will be able to use them. When you decide, when you go with an apprentice who becomes a thief, you move on the subterfuge track. When you decide to go with an apprentice that is a warrior, you get trophies, points, and sometimes money. And trophies at the end of the game is one of the things you will be scoring points for, because sets of trophies will raise the prestige of your house. Now, after 5 rounds, the game ends, and you score points at the end. So you score a little bit of points Agricola style. I mean, you first start with some negative points coming from empty spaces, but then you score extra points for many different things. Sets of trophies, students you still have, professors you still have, the position on the subterfuge track. If you manage to go through the whole training dungeon, there is both a trophy for the set and a number of points you can get, as well as majority in most of the important elements of the game. So there are many ways to score points. There are many ways to... The game is in a way very fluent, and sometimes you will have to adapt to your strategy. You probably won't be able to just go into mages and win. You'll usually have to combine a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Not everything, but finding different strategies is one of the most important elements of the game, because sometimes in the game somebody may just snatch that building you really wanted. That would be the base of your strategy. But then you will be able, with a little bit of, maneuvering, you will be able to also score points. So the game was designed by 2 veteran designers, Wolf Planke and Thomas van der Ginster. They have a few really good games here, and it very much shows through this one, because there are so many things you can do in the game. There are so many approaches. You can go into swapping dice very quickly, or you can go for building up your base very quickly to give you some special abilities, or you can try to snatch early careers quickly to give you quick bonuses which will allow you to get a leap forward. So there are many ways you can go about playing the game. You can store some of the wizardry cards to play them at a time that is most opportune to you, but maybe not as opportune to others. So again, many ways to approach the game, a few good strategies, the ability to build your own tableau, all of that, plus a pretty cool, pretty innovative mechanism of dice drafting makes it something we are very proud of, and we are very happy to bring it to people here in Essen.
It sounds like a fairly mechanically simple, but with an awful lot of options and decisions to be made throughout the game. How complicated is this game really for beginners? Well,
it's not really that complicated, and there is one very important element of the game which makes it more... It becomes more friendly to anyone who plays the game for the first time, and later on it also creates interesting decisions, because you won't be always able to do everything. When you look at this board and you see all of the actions you can do, that's one thing. But when you look at the dice that are there, there are usually a few decisions you have to make. Each of them is important. Do I go with the action I really want now, but also give an action to another player? Or maybe I will try to wait them out. Or maybe I will take their die, hoping that they will take my die, and we will... But still, usually the number of decisions is slightly limited, not in a way that you feel confined, but in a way that you're not standing in front of this whole wall of different jars of jam, right? You usually have 3-4 good choices, and this is what you have to choose from because of what dice are on the table, what colors, but also what numbers. So I think this is pretty cool when it comes to making the game more friendly towards new players. And like you said, the rules themselves are not very complex. You can see everything on the board. All of the numbers you need to know. Oh, I want some money. Okay, a 2, a 3, or a 4. That's very simple, right? So the game is not difficult to learn, but I think it has a lot of depth to be, it has enough depth to be really a satisfying one.
In terms of the strategy, how important is it to actually decide how you want to accumulate games at the beginning of the game? Is it something that you have to, in the first round or two, to actually think about it, or is this something that can be fluid as you are approaching, the middle of the game and the end of the game?
Well, it is something that you can change on the way, and that's something I think I mentioned. That sometimes you may want to build your strategy around a set of buildings and somebody snatches one of them. You will be able to turn around. The game is flexible. Although, to be honest, having a bit of a clear vision of what you want to do, like having the 2 pillars you're going to build your student house on, is often a good thing. I mean, it's nice to have a bit of a vision. I want to be a person who has wizards and warriors and buildings that will allow me to get more imps so that I can manipulate dice. Or I want to be the person who goes really quickly into putting all of my dice into the pool so that I get some points for this, because you score some points at the end for not having any dice on your player board, but I will make other players, it will allow me to piggyback in the next rounds. Or again, like I said, let me find the simplest, fastest combinations of apprentices that I can send out so that I can get a quick jump and then, for example, go into a slower burn strategy which will allow me, for example, to go through the whole training dungeon. So there are different combinations. I would say that you probably can't win with just one thing, but you can choose 2 or 3 of them, and if the game changes in such a way that you cannot pursue one of those paths anymore, you can definitely do really well in another one and still be competitive and perhaps win.
How does the gaming experience change depending on what character you use? Because I can see that you have the wizard apprentice and the rogue apprentice. How the warrior, if I play with a wizard and then I play with a warrior, how different will my experience be as a gamer?
Well, the apprentices you get, you will recruit more of them. So you can recruit on the first turn a wizard and a warrior and then a thief on the second turn. So you can have any of them. However, they all do have more specific benefits. Like I said, if you want to go with warriors, you'll probably have a lot of money and you will have sets of trophies. Right, so it's nice to combine warriors with actually the training dungeon, so that even if you arrive second, you will get a silver from this, but you will get a golden from this, and you will get a bronze from this, so that's instantly some points at the end of the game. If you decide to go with, for the subterfuge track, which is you decide to go with the rogues, they are very, very specialized. And if you are able to snatch enough of them very quickly, maybe some of your opponents won't be able to enter the track at all, which creates a very big point difference. Now, if you're going for the wizards, that's one of the most flexible strategies in a way, because you will be drawing more cards, and those cards can give you all sorts of different things. But you have to be aware of the fact that if you go heavily into wizards, whatever you do, other players will also gain benefits from this. Because, inventing new spells, everyone will be able to use them. So going for specific apprentices has a bit of a different feel. But again, I think going into apprentices is also the essence of the game, because points, biggest rewards are here. That's the idea of the game. You're ahead of a student house. You should have students, right? You should have them. But the way you choose which ones you will go after first may determine a little bit the style of your game, how it's gonna pan out later. The only thing I hope is that if you go heavily into warriors, you won't feel like a bully.
That's fair enough. Aside of this, I'm noticing one thing, and is that since you arrived to NSKN, games seem to have gone more from Euro like Predator or Exodus, science fiction kind of and historical games, into fantasy, adventuring, kind of more role-play sort of game. Was that anything to do with you?
Might have something to do with me. But make no mistake, this is a Euro game through and through. This is a Euro game. It is themed in a way that I'm hoping will be attractive to people, because this is something we really seem to like these days. I mean, we are fantasy kind of got reborn somewhere in the beginning of the 2000s, around with Lord of the Rings and with Harry Potter, and I think it speaks to the imaginations of people in a very profound way. So theming a game after this, and especially the game, we knew from the start that it's going to be about universities, that it's going to be about schools, or a school, or a single university. And it's like, why not go with the type of university, the type of school that speaks to our collective imagination the most at this point? And this is, in a way, how we decided what this is going to be in the end when it comes to the theme and when it comes to the feel of the game.
Now, my question for you in that case would be, one thing that many Euros suffer is that they present with a theme that when you start to play the game, you realize that the theme is just pasted on top of an awful lot of mechanics and mechanisms. How have you avoided that? What have you done with Dragon's Gate College for the theme to feel part of the game and not just something that you've pasted on top of the mechanics?
Well, I'm hoping that some small elements make it actually feel like you're doing what you were supposed to be doing. Like the fact that each professor comes with their own little special abilities, right? So when we have a professor, they probably will come up a little small, but we have a professor who is a fighter, right? He teaches this, so this kind of makes sense altogether. And we might have a student who's really good at being a thief. So, and we kind of wanted also the images of the professors and the students to correspond a little bit to who they are. So that was one of the steps. And in my mind, maybe it's a bit simplistic, but I really like Euro games where you build stuff, where you build buildings, where you fill up a given space, and to make also all that tie into the theme. That if you're getting an alchemist, then it's going to help you with some magic, and if you're getting an arena, then obviously your students will be more brawny, and their ability to wield weapons will go up. So there was also, and there is also a little bit of the story to it all. It's slightly absurd. It's not very serious fantasy. It's a bit on the wink fantasy side. It's like, because the story itself is that all of them, if you have the best student house, your students will enter the titular Dragon's Gate dungeon, which is under the school. Nobody has returned from there yet. So there is a little bit of that. Plus, there is one more thing. If you want your game to feel thematic, make sure that the art is kind of evocative. That you have a connection with some of the characters, that the students that go through your house or the professor, that they are kind of people, because these could be tokens which would have just a silhouette. We could have a token that would have this on the other side and just some numbers. But to make it feel like this is a person, we opted to have actual to give all of them faces, and that's what we wanted to also show here on our booth, that there is a little bit of character in those characters, that they are not just tokens you will be moving around the board.
Well, it certainly looks amazing. It does sound amazing, so I'm sure it will play amazing, and I look forward to playing that. As always, you will probably sell out, hopefully, at the show, but I presume there are going to be games available after the show for people who want to buy them online.
Yes, definitely.
Good. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Best of luck at the show, and well, I'll be seeing you around.